members of Welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And this is going to be our spoiler discussion of episode 3 of Secret Invasion, named Betrayed. Now, what that betrayed means is different levels, is going to be interesting for us to work out. However, I said spoilers, so spoilers. Ain't nobody safe in this show.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know who's what.
Yeah.
On whose side and not, and yeah.
Yeah. Gravik knows that Gaia is working, or Gravik knows that there's a mole. He thinks it's Gaia. Gaia helps Dad, Talos, make sure they do not shoot down the UN plane.
Right.
And Gravik shoots her for it.
Yeah.
Except I don't think she's really dead.
Okay.
The way they showed it and the way they edited it, she gets hit up here in the shoulder.
Yeah.
And her body jerks that way, like that's where she got hit. If she got hit in the chest, she would have fallen straight back. But she got hit in the shoulder, her whole body turned, and she's smart, so she knows when a Skrull gets shot and killed, they revert back to their natural form.
Right. Well, and they made a point of when Talos killed Bob. He shot him more like
in the center
here.
of the chest.
Yeah. So like their anatomy's a little.
I was just gonna say maybe their heart is in a different place.
Yeah.
But I don't think Emilia Clarke as a character, I don't think they would kill her off halfway through the show.
Right.
Especially when we spent a lot of this episode with Talos pretty much smacking down everybody, including Gravik, for mentioning her and talking about her.
Right.
And so with him being that way, I think they're going to use Gaia as I know what they're trying to do. I understand how they're set up. This is how we can beat them. I think that's the way to do it. At least storytelling wise, it seems like that's the way they want to. That's the way it is leaning. But like I said, nobody's safe in this show. I don't know who's on whose side or what on what side.
Yeah.
And the bitching old couple that is Talos and Fury. I want to get into all that, but the concept of killing off Gaia doesn't seem right.
Yeah, it felt like Talos was a little cavalier with her burning her in.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I know that they were up against, they needed to figure this out, but he killed them.
Yeah.
And then he calls her and he's like, I need the password.
Yeah.
And now you're going to burn your in, so you're going to have to run.
Yeah.
And it just, it seemed a little, for as much planning as it feels like they have been going through to get her in there and all of that.
I honestly think she went there on her own. I think she went and joined Gravik's group on her own. And I think as she spent more time there, she has realized that his idea of the future is not the right way to go.
Okay.
And it feels, I'm going to use a Star Wars reference because that's what we do around here, but it feels very much like Bo-Katan fighting with and against her sister with Nightwatch. And then Nightwatch? Yeah. Deathwatch. I knew it wasn't right. Deathwatch. And deposing her own sister, who was trying to change the way the Mandalorians were. And so she joined this group and followed this guy who was trying to bring back the old ways, and come to find out that he was being manipulated by Maul. And so it just feels like that same kind of story idea and then Bo-Katan figures out I've picked the wrong side. I think that's what Gaia has done. She's realized that she has picked the wrong side, and we talked about it earlier. The one guy, um, I don't remember what his character name is, but the younger guy that they brought in the first episode,
Mhm.
as a rescue, essentially. Um, I told her this is how, like, the Taliban recruits younger people to fight their war. They convince them that your lot in life, the reason that you're subjugated or whatever, is somebody else's fault, and gets them all ramped up, and then makes have them go do this stuff, suicide bombings, whatever. And in this instance, they put them on the sub to try to shoot down the UN plane, and so it it feels very terrorist group.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
that's not the right word.
That's what it is.
It feels very occulty right now with the scrolls, and uh, and I think that process is starting to get chipped away by Gaia, by others who are starting to have that question of, am I really doing the right thing? Fury's wife, at the end of the episode, who gets called to get activated, I guess.
Yeah.
She has that same kind of questioning kind of look on her face of,
Yeah.
am I doing the right thing?
Well, I mean, I think that they probably, in the beginning, as tends to happen, it uh, they were um, saying things, making sense to a lot of people, a lot of scrolls.
Yeah,
But now, you know, Grevik's on this. We're gonna make super scrolls,
yeah.
and that is probably a step too far for a lot of. I mean, there's still a lot of them that are gonna keep going along with it, but I think that's a step too far for a lot of people. They're gonna.
I find it interesting that they brought the Council of Scrolls to where they're essentially engineering the new Super Scrolls.
Yeah, I think they're gonna make them super scrolls,
I think
or
they're
they
gonna
maybe already did.
threaten to make them Super Scrolls. I don't know.
I think they already did.
That's fair. That's fair. Um, the scene where Talos and Gravik have their meeting that's in the trailer, and all the Graviks show up, stand up at the same time. Um, the rest of that scene is Talos stabbing him in the hand, which is a great move, by the way. And pretty much threatening him, like, don't keep your daughter's names out of my mouth. Keep your daughter's name out of your mouth.
My daughter's
My
name
daughter's name.
out of your mouth.
Uh, uh, which I found interesting that Gravik let him leave. Like, he had all the scrolls in the room. He let him leave, which I'm okay with. Like, he has bigger plans for Talos. And I don't think he wants to hurt anybody direct. I don't think he wants to hurt Scrolls directly unless they betray him directly.
Right.
And so,
But that could also, if he kills Talos, make a martyr.
yeah. Yeah.
So I just think there's a lot there's a lot going on that we don't like, that we don't know about. Like, I think Talos has got way more going. He's a freaking duck on the water.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
his little feet are going a million miles a minute, but he's like, there's something else going on. Same thing with Fury. There is something else. Either Fury is lost it, like the shell of a man, and he needs to just go back up on Saber and
Yeah.
just call it a day.
Yeah.
Or there's something else going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I let's talk about Fury, and then we can talk about Talos, and then we can talk about the two of them together, because they were the whole episode for me. I Fury feels like a man who's lost his faith.
I don't. I just, he comes across as like he just doesn't know what's going on at all.
Yeah.
And he's like trying to play at what he used to be, except he's been gone so long. Like his wife points out, you were gone in the blip, and then you were gone. And I just, like I said, either he is way past his prime, which to me just doesn't feel right for Fury. Like you just
Right.
expect him to be 5 steps ahead until he actually dies.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, you know,
I mean, he was 5 steps ahead when he got shot up the last time
right,
in
right. So this, I
Winter
mean, it
Soldier.
just seems super out of character, unless we're just saying he doesn't have it anymore. Um, otherwise, there's other stuff. He's also a duck.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
other stuff
Yeah.
going on, and he's kind of playing dumb, oblivious. Oh, sorry, I did these things. Like, just there, there had to be reasons. There,
Yeah.
like, you
Yeah.
wouldn't. I don't know.
I I've been on this thought process over this last week from the previous episode that this Fury is a scroll and was replaced uh, on purpose. Like there was an there was like an arrangement between Fury and this is not Fury is still on the ship
Right on Saber.
and on Saber, and then there's this Fury who is the kind of the artificial stand-in flirt Fury
Right.
because they did that in No Way Home, and so with Talos and Talos's wife,
Right.
and so he's used that spycraft kind of thing before, and so I'm wondering if some of the things that he's doing or feels off is because he's not really the Fury that we know.
And maybe that's they're trying to make it. Maybe that's the obvious answer, and
Yeah.
they're trying to make it look like the obvious answer. I don't know. This I have more. I have so many more questions after this.
After this episode that I did,
The mid-season finale.
There's no mid-season finale when there's only 6 episodes. The reason I say that he comes across as a man who's lost his faith, is because from '95 on, we know Fury as the guy who knew that there was a bigger threat to Earth than just what we knew. So he was already working on the
Right.
Avenger Initiative
Right.
when all of the events of Captain Marvel and the Skrull showing up all happened. So his whole life for 30 years has been about getting enough people together to stop the ultimate fight, to stop the ultimate thing from happening. And it happened anyways.
Right.
And so he is one of the ones who gets snapped, comes back, and realizes that the whole world is in complete disarray because of what happened that he tried to stop for 30 years. And now, instead of dealing with it, he ran away from it. And when he ran away from it, he tried to run away to something else that he could maybe partially control, and that's the search for a new home for the Skrulls. And that's why he was on Saber. That's why he's been out on the space station and having to deal with all of that. And so, if that's why I keep questioning if he really is truly back to what he was before, because he did everything he could for so long and it didn't work.
Right.
And now he's questioning every decision he's making.
Right.
Which,
well, I mean, but they ultimately got Thanos in the end.
yeah, but now the world is in complete disarray because we lost half the population and then they all of a sudden came back.
Right.
So now this is something that Falcon and Winter Soldier dealt with.
Yeah.
No Way Home or Far From Home dealt with, like all these different things that they've kind of hinted at dealing with the post blip, everybody coming back, Ant-Man the Wasp.
Yep.
Like it's so
Yep.
it's been that kind of the conversation. His fight or bickering with Talos. Talos is also somebody who maybe is past his prime or maybe is no longer what he thinks he was, although he's been kicking ass in the last couple of episodes. And he said in the first episode, like in Earth years, he's just in his mid 40s, so he's still in his prime of his life and stuff. But he also feels like he's lost maybe focus since his wife died, or something. Like there's definitely something where he is not the same person he was, same confident person that he was before.
Right.
And the two of them interacting with each other, it's like both of them know that the other one needs to have the conversation about, hey, we're not who we thought we used to be, but they won't because they're two guys, and so they won't actually have the conversation with each other about, I'm having feelings that I'm not the person I wasn't.
Yeah.
You both need to go to a therapist. You need to go to couples therapy, like Falcon and Bucky did.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I mean, there's just like what was the arm touch when Talos was sitting there eating
Yeah,
breakfast,
yeah, and they
and
made a
then he
point of
touches
showing it.
his arm and then walks out. Like what? There is stuff going on that we think we know and we don't.
I'm trying to think back to Captain Marvel. I don't think they had to touch someone to be their likeness. I think they had to touch somebody. I think they had to touch somebody to maybe get their thoughts. Like they know like recent memories and stuff like that.
Right.
So I just
But then, I mean, Fury would know that if that's
yeah, yeah,
he would.
yeah. It's again more questions than we have answers,
Yeah.
which is fine. Like I'm loving what the show is doing.
Yeah. Yeah. This is definitely. Luckily, it's 6 episodes. This is definitely one that once we're done, we are going to have to go back and rewatch because there will be
Oh yeah.
like once we know, then we'll go back and and that's where they showed us, and that's
Yeah.
where that happened, and yeah. But right now, we just
Why did they show us the pan back shop of Gravik and Talos in the cafeteria of the museum? Like the two of them are facing off each other. Two chess players facing off each other.
right.
But there was paintings in the background. What are like? I want to go back and watch the episode
Yeah.
again and see what those paintings are. Like
Yeah.
it's uh, spy versus spy kind of
Yeah.
setup, kind of whatever. But they made a point of showing that shot. Now it's a cool, pretty, awesome shot.
Yeah.
And very well blocked and everything. But I just why show us that and then go back to this over the shoulder one on one
Yeah.
kind of conversation.
Yeah.
And so it was the shoulder, the arm touch, um, um, uh, the whole concept that Sonya didn't help Fury, even though Fury told her, um, they're they're gonna blow up the UN plane, and she's like, I've got my own things to deal with, and they show
Yeah.
the commander or something like that. Like they show her looking through the file,
Yeah.
but they don't explain anything, which is
Yeah.
fine. Again, they're going to
Yeah.
come back and they're going to tell us.
Yeah.
But she's dealing with her own thing, and the idea that maybe she's a scroll too has been kind of floating out there.
Yeah.
Um, again, uh, a scroll hiding in plain sight, but nobody else know. But no other scrolls know. Maybe Talos knows.
Yeah. Maybe.
But there's just a bunch of that kind of stuff that was going on. But the slow burn of what this episode was, and then them shooting Gaia again. I don't think she's dead, but I think that it. I don't think enough people are watching this show closely enough to be sitting there and be able to go, this is the definitive thing, because we're sitting here right now just
Yeah.
working our way through it, and we're like, what if it's this, or what if it's this, or what if it's this? And a lot of people on I've been specifically on TikTok have been talking about how this show seems like different and not misguided, but different and not really explaining anything, and that's not how a true spy drama works. And I'm like, no, this is not this is a spy thriller, but it's much more of a I have to question everything
Yeah. It's
kind of
absolutely
thing.
how. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
you'll
understand.
watch all the like Mission Impossible, and you're like you think you know what's going on, and
Yeah.
you think you know what's going on, and then all of a sudden you had no idea what was going on, and
Yeah.
that's what this like. And we have spent a lot of time with some of these people, like Fury and Talos. We've spent a lot of time with them, so they have to work extra hard to kind of make us question
Yeah.
or
Uh,
yeah.
I want to talk about Gravik and the extremis thing that happened when he got his hand stabbed.
Yep.
He pulled his hand out.
He's already a Super Skrull.
He's already got the extremis. In the trailer, Gravik is attacking, I believe it's the president's motorcade, and you see him brutify his
Mhm.
arm. I think that's the next episode, because his plan to blow up the UN plane and start World War III that way didn't come to fruition. So now
Well, and he said that wasn't. He said it would have been nice, but it was not the goal.
The goal,
The
right.
goal was to get them to weed out the mole.
which is why I think the fact that that Fury's wife getting activated, and it wasn't from Gravik, it was from Gravik's right hand man that was the one that called
Yeah,
her.
and I don't know what's going on with that either, because she takes a call on a flip phone, on a pink flip phone
Yeah,
that she's super cryptic about, sets it down, leaves the room. Fury looks at the phone. We have no idea if he actually
oh, that's another one of the
looked
shots. Yeah,
to see
yeah.
if who called her. But then when she gets activated, that's a completely different phone. It's not the same phone.
Yeah,
It's not a flip phone.
yeah.
So how many different phones
And then she gets
does
called.
she have out
She
there?
gets the gun, and she has to go to Victory Plaza. I think, I don't remember where they said.
Yeah.
In an hour, and she's like, "I wanted to talk to Gravik," and he's like, "Well, Gravik, no, you have to be there." So Fury knows that the whole conversation that they have at the beginning with her saying, "You left, and I grieved, and then you came back, and then you left, and
Yeah,
all that stuff."
yeah.
And I've gone back to who I was, and he was calling her out for following Gravik, and so there's a layer there that it feels like either Fury knows that she's working for him or has something to do with him, or it's a bait and switch kind of conversation.
Right. Again, this kind of goes back to, either Fury is completely lost it and can't see what's going on, or it's all going on under the surface and we
Yeah.
just have no
Yeah.
idea.
I wonder if they're like Talos's I guess bitch fest in the car when they were going to Bob's house about
Funny.
you got there because of me and it's all because of us and you wouldn't be anything, like that whole conversation.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was staged with the idea that somebody else is listening.
Maybe.
And it, because it again, it felt very out of character, but it didn't after the train conversation.
Right.
And so there's all this red string conspiracy theory, which is exactly what you want out of a spy drama.
Right. Yes.
And
yes.
I just been really, really, really liking it. A lot of people have been asking, like, what are you most excited about when it comes to Phase 5 going forward, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And this has been the show. Because even though we're 3 episodes in, we went back and watched the Captain America trilogy for the 4th of July. And there's stuff that happens in Winter Soldier and Civil War where I'm like, I'm not saying it's something,
Right.
but it might be something.
Right. This came up like what's his Robert Redford's character,
Pierce.
Pierce.
Yeah.
And they talked about him in the first episode.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's very much one of the reasons why I was so excited about the show is that we're gonna have to go back and reevaluate everything that we know about the MCU in phases 1, 2, and 3.
Right. Which is why they do it.
And right. So those people who were complaining that Phase 4 wasn't very good, Phase 4 was very good. It just, we had to come back and reset the system.
Right.
And by resetting the system, you had to go through the grieving process of what happened. And now that you've done that, you can go back and have this. There's a reason that this is the first. We have Ant-Man and the Wasp, which was the first thing. He comes back from the quantum realm, and there's all the chainedness that's going on, and he's wondering if they actually beat him.
Yep.
And then this is the next thing. This is the next thing in the story. So we've already starting to question our reality about what happened with Ant-Man and the Wasp, and now we're questioning the reality with this show.
Right.
And then next is going to be Marvels, and then that's going to be make us question a lot more too, because that's going to be, I think, before timeline wise before this.
Right.
And so
Right.
I just, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I like it. I like it so much. I like it so much. That is our thoughts and conversation about episode 3 of Secret Invasion, called Betrayed. Let us know, dinner. Let us know what you thought of the episode and our conversation in the comments down below. I said conversation in the comments, and in the little area below. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notification. You know what to do.
Do the thing.
The thing.
Do the other thing.
And bye.